I'm coming to you from the attic above the kitchen, and I want to show you something. We are Mike and Jeannie, and we restore old houses. In 2021, we moved to South Carolina and bought a 120-year-old Victorian house. Follow along as we put the polish back on this Victorian masterpiece.
Welcome back to 1834 Restoration House.
This is the month of December, the month when the landscape bursts forth into bloom. You don't believe me, do you? Well, come with us and we'll prove it. All right, here's proof. Look at this. Look at those beautiful blooms. What could be nicer than cherry blossoms in December? Or how about the sweetness of a red rose? We're in the kitchen of our 1900 Victorian house. And if you're just joining us for the first time, big welcome to all of you. We restore old houses, and this Victorian is no exception. It needs a lot of work, and so we've been doing that and documenting it here on 1834 Restoration House. Now, I want to give you a quick update. A few episodes back, we had to deal with a squirrel problem, and we thought we had it whipped, but they're still around and they're still causing trouble. And recently we've heard squirrels right up overhead here in the kitchen. And that's a different roof area than the rest of the house. There is an attic access over there in the closet, the pantry. But I'm going to go up in the attic and take a look at a couple of things and see if they've been up in the area where we previously had a problem. And then we'll go up in here and see what's going on up here. This is the attic access on the second floor. And up there is the spooky attic. And as soon as we pass 10,000 subscribers, we're going to take the camera up there and I'll give you a tour of everything. But for today, I'm going up and doing a quick inspection because I want to see if the squirrels have been messing around up here or if we finally got them out. It's a little bit challenging trying to get up here. There are no floorboards up here, so I kind of have to be careful about where I step. So I'm walking across, and I'm going back to where the original point of entry was for the squirrels. What I did is I set up a kind of a barricade to keep them out. I wish you guys could see what I'm talking about. I'm just looking at it here and I don't see where anything is busted through. So I think that's okay. I'm gonna come on out now and then we'll go check the other side. It sure would be nice to have a stairway. They made it really difficult to get into the kitchen attic. The only way up is this way. I'm coming to you from the attic above the kitchen, and I want to show you something. These three wires here were part of an electrical cable, and when I got up here, they were probably within a fraction of an inch of touching each other, and it's clear that the squirrel has been up here chewing. So I pulled them apart as a precaution, but watch this. That wire is hot, and it was merely a fraction of an inch away from touching the ground wire. And this is how old houses burn down. Rodents chewing on wires, causing electrical shorts, overcurrent, overheat, fire, and then the house is gone. So this is why it's so important that first of all we get rid of the rodent, and second of all that we get the electrical system in this house rebuilt. Here's one of the entrances where the squirrel was coming in above the kitchen. That thing is big enough to put a basketball through. It's actually bigger than a basketball. So I cleaned everything out, and then I sprinkled down squirrel repellent, a lot of it. But it's clear that
this has been happening before because I can see where somebody tried to put a patch over it to keep the squirrel out, but the squirrel has just defeated it. Here's a little bit of what a squirrel nest looks like.
The squirrels caused a lot of damage up there. I'm going to have to replace all of the soffit boards, some of the siding probably, but definitely the sheathing behind that. Now the sheathing is actually diagonal 1x6 boards that lay across the structure like this. The squirrels literally chewed a hole in it this big. It's enormous. I was shocked when I first saw it. I think they've been going in there for many years. And I found evidence that somebody had tried to put up a barrier at one point, but they defeated the barrier and managed to get back in. So we have a lot of repair work to do up there. We'll probably wait till spring for that. That was insane. I pulled out an entire bag full of squirrel nesting, but then I went back and I sprinkled some squirrel repellent around the openings. Hopefully that stops them. Now let's work on the outside. This is called the Squirrelinator. And I bought this because I did a lot of research online, and where the have-a-heart traps, they don't seem to work too well. These ones apparently do. They're a little bit different construction. So how these work is actually quite simple. There's a little door right here, and I know it's hard to see because it's just a labyrinth of wire, but there's a door right here, and the squirrel will come in and push this door open. It's on a spring, and the idea is that they're nibbling food as they go in, and finally they go in deeper to get more food, and then it closes behind them and they can't get back out. The neat thing about these traps is they are able to capture more than one squirrel, because you can have a squirrel in here eating. Here comes another squirrel, and it goes in too. I guess they love their company, right? But it says on the box, 25 squirrels in just hours. I don't know about that, but we'll see. If we can just capture the troublemakers, that'll be good. So this is a transport door. Once you've captured the squirrels and you're ready to do whatever you want to do with them, you can bring this over here and clip it shut. So that way if you're driving, there's no way the squirrel can get back out. Even if this thing were to bounce open, they still can't get past this. There's also a door on top, and you can open that. One mistake I've seen people make is that they will leave this door unlocked, and they get their squirrels, and then the squirrels figure out all they have to do is just pop out the top, and then they're free. So we definitely don't want that. So what I'm going to do is get this out of here. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to open up this side too. Okay, now the trap is set. There's no spring loading, no trigger mechanism, nothing. It's just very simple. The other thing I think the squirrels appreciate is it doesn't feel like they're walking into a trap. It's just something, right? Because it's wide open. Now, I have my bait. This is peanut suet nuggets that we got from the feed store. And so I'm just going to sprinkle some of these down in here. I'm going to put them down where the squirrels can't possibly reach. And then you put a couple here. Yeah, we're going to end up feeding some squirrels, but the thing is we don't want the squirrels to be able to reach in and get it. We want the squirrels to have to go in and get it. So by putting it off center like that and over here, it gives the squirrels a reason to go inside. Now, you got to give them a little incentive too. I'll sprinkle a couple here in the doorway and even a few outside. I'm basically making a trail that's going to lead to the trap. The idea is that the squirrel will come along and they'll nibble on this, and squirrels are always hungry. You can never overfeed a squirrel. So they'll come in, eat a little bit, then they go in there and eat a little bit, and as they push their way in, eating their way in, they'll eventually go inside there and then this thing will snap shut. Now we know that squirrels love peanut butter, and this is peanut suet, which is, I guess, a bird feed of some sort. We're going to go away and leave this alone and see what happens. Welcome back to the 1834 paint chemistry lab, otherwise known as the kitchen. So we've been playing with some different recipes and doing some more research, and this is what we came up with. So I'm going to try a little bit different ratio of pigment. So I'll go ahead and get that set to 0. I am going to put in 40 grams of green. And 10 grams of white. For a total of 50 grams of pigment. And I'm going to go ahead and stir it up a little bit so it's evenly mixed. It's interesting how the white just disappears when it goes into the green, but yet when it gets mixed with the oil, it'll have a significant impact on the color. So I'll go ahead and dump that out. Make a little volcano, and then pour in some oil, and we'll start crushing it. It starts off a bit dry, so I'll just add a bunch more oil to it. It's kind of like making cake batter. As I was starting to work it, I saw that it was going a dark green, but then all of a sudden it started lightening up as it picked up some of the white pigment. It's a little bit crusty right now, but it'll smooth out in a couple of minutes once it gets into solution. Now, we had a couple of people say that they thought it was kind of crazy that I was using kitchenware to do paint mixing. But let's look at the ingredients for a second. You have turpentine, which is the distillate of pine rosin, or tree sap, basically, from a pine tree. You've got linseed oil, which is actually flaxseed oil, comes from a plant, all natural. And then you have pigment, which is really just refined earth. So we're essentially mixing mud and flaxseed oil. This is a bit more work than the last time around because there's so much more pigment here. I'm going to loosen it up just a little bit with some more oil. Those of you who've ever mixed up concrete know exactly what I'm talking about here. You just kind of keep adding oil and sneak up on it. So I'm trying to make a paste of color that's as smooth as I can get it and get all the grit kind of broken up and get it hydrated. Okay, I think we have a pretty good mix here. So I'm going to take this oil, which is half cup, and pour it in the can. And then I'm going to take the pigment and put it in the can as well. So I'll start gathering it in. We want to keep as much of this as we can. We're expecting a large shipment of pigment to arrive tomorrow, and then we can start making larger quantities of this, more specifically gallon size. Okay, let's bring this up here and see if we can get that down into the can. There we go. Yeah, see, most of it just wants to pour in. The rest of it will just kind of nudge it down in there. Okay, that's about as much as we can practically get off of that paper. And there it is sitting on the bottom with the oil. I've got a little more oil here that needs to go down in there. I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of turpentine. This is going to be the solvent, which is going to help dry the oil. It also makes it go on smoother. But if you don't have solvent in oil paint, it doesn't dry as well. And you really want it to dry and dry hard. So we'll go ahead and put that in. Now let's go ahead and mix that up. Now this paint here is noticeably thinner than paint that you can buy at the store. So it's probably not going to hide in one coat. It may need 2 coats or 3 coats. I put the lid on and I'm giving it a shake just to make sure everything's all mixed up well. Let's open it up and have a look. Hopefully, if we did everything right, we should have some good historic oil-based paint. Ooh. Nice. That does look very nice. Okay, we have a natural bristle brush, and let's go set up outside and do some painting. All right, here's the moment of truth. It's exhibiting a little bit of strange behavior here in that it's not able to wet the primer underneath. And that could be a result of the primer that we used, which really wasn't oil-based. Bugs. But what I'm finding here is that the more I brush it in, it does seem to wet down okay. It just has to overcome that initial dryness. But I can see already this is going to require a couple of coats. And the paint has to be stirred up pretty much constantly to keep the pigment in solution. This is very wet. It's not like the stuff that we're used to today. But this is a historic paint recipe, so we don't expect it to be exactly like modern stuff. I'm going to go back and put a long brush stroke on that. And that takes out any unevenness. Because this stuff is so thin, I have to use a very thin coat. If I try to just glop it on like we do with modern paint, it'll run down to the bottom edge and stay put. We don't want that, so I'm keeping it nice and thin. The next time we do a wall section like this, we'll be using a different recipe for the primer, and I think that may alleviate some of the dryness issues where the paint's not able to wet the wall properly. All right, let's do another one here. See how it just runs off like that? Okay, that's not getting good wetting. So by brushing it hard repeatedly, it's finally wetting the wall. And now we have good adhesion. I'm slopping a little bit on the trim, but I don't care because we'll go back and paint that later with the proper color. Right now I just want a good color coat. This is the thinnest paint I have ever seen in my life. This is what's called a 20-foot paint job right now, meaning it looks good from 20 feet away. But if you get up close on it, it doesn't really look very good. But the first coat never does. We'll have to let this dry probably 24 hours. I'm hoping it doesn't take much longer than that because we have rain in the forecast eventually. But if this stuff can dry by tomorrow, we can go ahead and put a second coat on. Well, we're down here on the last lap, and everything's going great. All of the gnats are showing up. They're attracted to the aroma, and I think they want some of this. Okay, there we have it. First coat. The bottom board there, that's a trim board, so it will get a different color. But that's our first coat of body color, which is a French pale green made of turpentine, linseed oil, and green earth pigment. We'll let this dry overnight and then come back and check it. If you've been following us for a while, you know that this house is a mishmash of knife switches, fuses, circuit breakers, sub-panels, and sub-sub-panels, and none of it makes any sense. Oh, don't forget to throw in some knobs and some tubes, some cloth wire, Romex, semi-Romex. It's a mess. Well, we were trying to cut the power so I could go in there and make an electrical repair above the kitchen. Come to find out, this entire house is sitting on one 60 amp breaker. I just spent the last couple of hours in the attic right above me here in the kitchen doing some rewiring, and let me show you what's going on here. So this is called Romex. This is modern house wire. It consists of a plastic outer jacket, and then inside is one bare copper conductor, which is ground. There's a black insulated wire, which is hot, and then a white insulated wire, which is neutral. This is how we wire houses today. So let me show you how they used to wire houses back in the old days. This is a piece of knob and tube. Here you can see the remnants of a tube. It's a piece of ceramic, and that would have been run through a floor joist or a ceiling joist, and then you just simply push the wire through. But here's the wire. You have one conductor of copper, which is then wrapped with rubber, and I can still feel the rubber. This is another piece of wire that I took out. This looks to me like first generation Romex, circa 1960s. It has the outer jacket, and it has the individually insulated inner conductors. You can see where the squirrel is chewed through. It went through the outer jacket, it went through the insulation of the hot wire, and it also went partly through the insulation of the neutral wire. Now that's a problem, because if these two wires ever touch, you can have sparks and fire. That's not good. So I went ahead and replaced that. But this is the one I really wanted to show you. This was a piece of Romex. Well, the outer jacket is completely gone, except in the place where it went into the electrical boxes here on the edge. This is an absolutely bare hot wire. This is an absolutely bare neutral wire. And this is an absolutely bare ground wire, which is normal. But these two are not supposed to be bare. So if this is energized and it shorts, bam. And in some cases, your neutral wire could have energy on it too. And that's not good. So that was a fire waiting to happen. And when I found it, it literally was probably maybe the thickness of a paper apart from each other. Over here, I found evidence that there may have been some short circuiting going on because the white jacket here is black. We may have been that close to having a fire. So the takeaway here is, if you have a house, and I don't care whether it's a 2-year-old house or a 150-year-old house, do not let squirrels into your attic. If they get in your attic, they're going to chew. Same thing with possums, raccoons, chipmunks, and other creatures. Mice, rats, do not let them in your house. If they do get in, get help if you have to, but get those things out. Otherwise, this could happen. All right, let's turn the power back on here and see what happens. Okay, it didn't snap back off. That's a good sign. Let's go in the house and check our circuits. Let's make sure this light works. It does. It does work. We replaced the fixture. We had one of those 1960s flying saucer pull-down type fixtures that they used back in the old days of the mid-century homes. We took that out and replaced it with something a little more period correct. So come on in here and check this out. That's good. This is the other pantry closet, and we had to replace the wire going in here as well. So let's check it. Perfect. It works great. All right, that's done. And now we don't have to worry about those two wires. It's just the rest of them we have to worry about now.
This is our very first Victorian Christmas, non-electric and all. You can see we decorated simplicity, but pretty. This is the outside of the house. Thing is, we have to make them. Most of them we have to make ourselves. So it's gonna take time. Let's go see the inside. Our Victorian Christmas tree. The Victorians would have made most of their own ornaments, decorated through family gatherings, making ornaments like stockings, presents, snowmen, and even stockings. I like the popcorn and the cranberries. Takes time to do all of that stuff, and that's family bonding time. So it made Christmas very special that way. I like it.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching 1834 Restoration House. Remember, we have 1834 House coffee mugs available. The link is in the description below. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. We'll see you next time.